Thank you. Please do keep your video on at all times so that we can keep track of attendance. We will be recording this session as usual, and by continuing on, you are giving a permission for this recording, which could be displayed on social media as well. So do make sure you use the chat function for any questions, especially when our guest speaker is speaking. And at the end of it, Bridget will collate and probably ask you to ask the question yourself, and we can have an interactive session then. All right, that's it from me. Thanks. Over to you, President Dinesh.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinit. May I now bring the meeting to order? Good evening, everyone. Honorary member Bhagwan, thank you. We missed you in last meetings.
Yeah, not well.
I hope nice to see you today. And Pak Mohan, past presidents, distinguished guests, fellow Rotarian, and we have a visiting Rotarians today. CP Lina from RC Shanghai, welcome. And President Takshing from Rotary Club of Jurong Town, welcome. And fellow Rotarians, very warm welcome to 42nd club meeting today. And now, I welcome to our speaker. You are here, Mr. Tan Tinwi, Chief Executive, National Supercomputing Center. And he will be speaking. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And Mr. Tan will be speaking on biodefense against existential bioterrorist threat. Interesting topic of the day. Look forward to hear, listen. And now it's my pleasure to call our Toastmaster, Sudhir Tiku, to raise the toast for Rotary Club of Shanghai coupled with Rotary International.
President Dinesh, yeah, I will, with your permission, like to raise a toast for our colleagues from Rotary Club Shanghai and Rotary International Jurong, and expect that the service to the society that all of us do continues.
To RC Shanghai and Rotary International.
RC Shanghai, Rotary International.
Shanghai, Rotary International.
Thank you, Rotarian Sudhir.
Thank you, President.
And let me share our screen. Okay, may I call upon Honorary Secretary Bridget, if there is any announcement?
I think there's just one announcement, and Dr. Chan is in the house. I do believe that the Vocational Service Committee on Zoom is happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. Dr. Chan, is that correct?
No, tomorrow is a holiday, and
of course, I'm so sorry. My fault. Tomorrow's a holiday, so no meeting, so no announcement.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
so let me tell you, tomorrow is a holiday, and I wish everyone, especially our Muslim members, Salamat Hari Raya Eid al-Fitri, and Eid Mubarak to everybody. So that's a holiday. We'll not have the meeting. Salamat Hari Raya.
My fault.
Birthdays. Oh, Dr. Shahul. I have not seen him. 14th of May. And Rotarian Uttam Kriplani, 18th of May. I think he's not here.
Both are not here now.
Let us wish both of them a very happy birthday. Wedding anniversaries. Oh, we have Subhash here. It's his wedding anniversary today. Subhash and Kanak. Subhash, you are here. Very, very happy wedding anniversary to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 32nd.
32nd. Wow, well done. Many happy returns of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for Mahesh and Hanisha, 13th of May. Oh, PP Mohan Vatsla. Mohan is here. PP Mohan, congratulations. That is on 14th of May.
Thank you.
And Deepu and Miriam. Deepu is in Dubai, I think, as on 18th May. Please join me to wish all the celebrants a very happy wedding anniversary. Thank you. Some more announcements. I haven't seen PP Tapan here, and please, we have to thank PP Tapan Rao for his major gift of $10,000 to Rotary Foundation Annual Fund. And with that, we congratulate you, PP Tapan, for becoming major donor level 2. Thank you so much. Our next meeting, 4th hybrid and 43rd club meeting, is a hybrid meeting. We'll have a physical meeting at Pavilion Conrad Centennial and virtual meeting. I think we have all seen there has been changes due to some incidents. We are back to phase 2. So we have discussed and we have asked Conrad Centennial to tell us if there is any restriction, and we have got an email confirmation that except the we'll have maximum of 5 persons on every table. Otherwise, there is no other change. We should really follow the guidelines. However, we will follow next week. We still have 1 week, and then we can make a decision. But at this time, the meeting goes on, and we'll have meeting next week. From 7 to 8 dinner, and 8 to 9:15 will be the meeting. And being a hybrid meeting, we have the virtual meeting, and where members are free or unable to attend physical meeting, they can join on Zoom, and login details are same every week. So for physical meeting, meetings, safety guidelines are to be followed. I think we all know distancing, no mingling, and mask to be worn when you are not eating or drinking. And since we are talking of the next week our speaker will be Miss Imani Jamal Edin, and she's the country head of Customer Success Unit, Microsoft Singapore. Interesting topic, a woman in tech and a female leader. So please join us in the next meeting. What's happening? I think in the meeting on 28th, when the last physical meeting, I did gave you an idea for members engagement, especially our number is increasing, and we are going to be very soon touch 190. So we're looking for members engagement, and one of the idea came that we should have Rotary interest groups. And I'm very pleased that we already have 4 interest groups which are just formed. Number 1 is blockchain and cybersecurity, and the lead is Rotarian Tom Wolf. Cyclist Buddies, another one. The lead is Rotarian Subhash Pritamani. Golf Fellowship Group. I wrote Golf Kakis, and this is led by past President Stan Lowe. And you can change the name, PP Stan. We already have a Jolly Walker group every week. So we formalize that we make this also as another interest group, very successful, and led by Rotarian Vineet Iyengar and Vice President Suresh. Sorry. Okay. We had the first meeting. This was fast. First meeting on blockchain cybersecurity on 7th of May. It was hosted by Rotarian Tom Wolfe at his residence, and we had a coffee. It was very interesting. I was amazed the kind of talent in technology we have now in our club, and is attended by the members, Hayden, who is here today, VP Suresh, myself, Rotarian Francisco, Sean Lim, and VP Colin Miles. The very interesting discussion, and the group is looking into how they can also use the technology in serving the community. And I think it's there in a couple of years, or maybe 2-3 years, everybody will be so familiar with digital currency, and cybersecurity is already a very, very important subject. And this is now even all the IoT devices used by common. All of us will have to have a cybersecurity. This is like Wi-Fi router, the cameras. So I think it's going to be very interesting and will help whenever we want to train our interactors, and this group is going to be there. So I wish all the best, Rotarian Tom, for forming this group, and similarly other groups I'm sure will be formed. So please, members, take initiative to create more. Some suggestions. We have a lot of interest in cricket, photography, film technology, art, books, foodies. So it's all technology. That means our vocation we can use, or our hobbies. So this is a members initiative. I'm sure it will continue in future. Let's come to Kaifer. Know your fellow Rotarian. And today we have a Rotarian. I think we know him. All of us know him, but there is always surprises. And it's past president, Dr. Jaap Lipke. Dr. Jaap Lipke joined the club in 1994. Yes, so he has been with us for a long time. It was 9th March 1994, and he was president in the year 2009. Oh, what happened? Sorry. Let me handle this.
Lipke is sharing his slides.
Sorry, yeah, I'm trying to share my slides, but
Oh, please, just have some. Can you stop sharing then?
Oh, okay, sorry, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't have to share now. So, fellow Rotarian, I give you past President Lipke. Please.
My apologies, Bridget. I have some technical problems. Can you share it for me?
I don't have it, Lipke. I don't have your slides, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
I should have asked you, but I did not think about it because you are so.
Okay, never mind. I've got it. I'll try to share it now. Can I share?
You can. You're co-host. Yes. Yep, you're co-host. You can. Ah, it's coming up. Wonderful.
Okay, my apologies. Well, I thought that I'll try to give as brief talk about myself. I was born in Kuala Lumpur, Pudu. For some of those who know it, this is the type of place where we were. On the right, you can see the maternity hospital, and the overview is Kuala Lumpur back in the 1930s. Of course, it is very different now. I went to school in my primary school was in a Pasar Road English school, which is a Market Road school. So you can see that it was quite a little rundown school. And we went to a secondary school in Victoria Institution. I think this is the Victoria Institution that many of us know. And this, you can see the lower inset on the lower right behind is Merdeka Stadium. So it was right in the middle of town. And one thing about going to school was we cycled past the Pudu jail every morning for the 7 years I was in the school, and either by bus or walked. And this is the jail, and that reminds us to keep on the straight and narrow path. I left Kuala Lumpur about 1972. Before that, we had the huge floods in the 1970s. You can see where the equivalent of a Padang was flooded. And in fact, when I went back in 2020, last year, it was just as bad. So Kuala Lumpur has not changed in many ways. Whereas the place I came to for university, Singapore, it has changed a lot. So you can see many of you will recognize the old Singapore. The one on the right is the Faculty of Medicine building of the past, and bottom left is the King Edward Hall residence where I stayed. And after graduation for 5 years, I went to Aberdeen and was a lecturer in the University of Aberdeen, and was registrar and gained my what do you call it, specialist degree. And from then, what I did go around the world and was in Singapore involved in what we call laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Mohan Chelapai and I did the first laparoscopic cholecystectomy in Asia, and because of that, we were very much wanted in the lecture tour, and we did go to India, Indonesia quite a lot, and China. And this is operating in China, and our work was mainly to get rid of this old surgery. Oh dear, why it doesn't move? My apologies. So what we did was try to get rid of this traditional surgery where we had to cut open the abdomen to doing keyhole surgery, which, and here Filipinos are demonstrating, is more fun and safe. And this was workshops in Philippines in my professional capacity. During the years that I came, Singapore transformed itself from the top left-hand corner, little sleepy city, to the vibrant city of today. And this boat's key, you can see the big change in the place. Of course, I joined Rotary in 1994, and well, I had 3 little monkeys at that time, and these little monkeys have transformed into lovely young adults. And and my wife, I think most of you have met her. We met in medical school, and we married in Aberdeen and Scotland, and came back. Now, Rotary to me is, I think all of you know me through Rotary, so it's only right that I go through all the things that we did in Rotary. And one thing about Rotary is, here, while it says Haifa, know your fellow Rotarians. Through me, you know all the others. You can see back in 2009, the late Albert Wee, Shahul, when he was slightly bigger. Then this was Bandipu, medical missions. We had fun then. Sometimes we pretend to be dentists, but in reality, what we did was I did the gynecology camps. We were there for Holi. That was fun. Pakistan, during my year, we gathered quite lots of money for Red Cross, and what happened was the Pakistan floods came, and much of the money was sent to Pakistan, and I went there to make sure that things were up, that the people got what they had. The following year, disasters happened, tsunami happened, and now here we had Colin Miles to thank for. Colin, you're here, and this is your project, the SMS donation where we actually collected a total of $640,000 from the public, from SMS, where we just text, and all that money went on to the earthquake relief together with Red Cross. And this is one of the projects that the Rotary Club of Singapore and Red Cross Society was recognized for. We replaced a set of drums for a temple, and we hope we can bring them here to play for us. A group led by PP Stan went to Miyagi, to the earthquake affected areas, and here you see us clearing up the playground for the children, cleaning it up. Here's another disaster. I have been very much involved in these disasters, and certainly moving a lot because of Rotary through all these disasters. And in this particular case, disaster was the earthquake in Nepal, where we went, and you can see the scene of destruction. What we did was we surveyed it and had a look. You can see Jess back there. And of course, Jess being there, the primary school was of greatest importance, where we went to see. Jimmy Wee was the leader of that team. And we went to Dulikil, where I was more interested in talking to the doctors as to how we could actually help them. And we also met the president-elects. And during that time, we came back and did about 6 to 8 global grants, which have been completed. Besides that, much of the sharing has been some for fun, like in this case, where I think it's Suichi San organized this for us. And you can see Pak Mohan leading the team with PP Stan to the back. Philippines, thanks to Pelita and Oliver, we have trips there, and PP Stan took us to Lijiang, Shangri-La, and you can see the team there displaying the banner. Earthquake again in Lombok, we went in this time with the district, and we did the water projects. In my professional traveling, I used to go to quite a few other places. Like in this particular case, in Jayapura, Papua, where I took the opportunity to meet the Rotarians, or those on the right. There's a brand new club, and talk to them about projects. Jimmy Ui has helped a lot in gathering meetings, and so it helped me see a lot more places, Bhutan and back to Nepal again, all thanks to Jimmy. On my own, I did wander to Africa, thanks to invitation from the Rotary Club of Kirinyaga, which is in the middle of Kenya, next to the national park. And we did this surgery, and it was keyhole surgery, which we were sharing knowledge. And so in many ways, my work and Rotary took me quite far. The next one here is Rotary International Convention 2019, Hamburg, the very last one that we were able to attend physically. We hope that when it comes to June 2024, when they come to Singapore, we will actually be able to host a proper physical convention. Next year will be Houston. This year's Taipei has been cancelled, so fingers crossed. And we should particularly proud because for this convention, the club had done a lot to bring it to Singapore. And within our club, we had this big international service trip organized by Pak Shahul, past Person Shahul, and the host was honorary member Mohan Baswani, and certainly we enjoyed ourselves there. So you can see that knowing me, it basically is knowing the members of all the members that being in the joy of being in Rotary is that you meet and work with so many people of so many vocations and achieve so much. Thank you.
President, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Bridget.
Most welcome.
So
Let me
trying to
share
unshare.
again. Okay, we had, thank you, PP Lipke, and I think you had a fantastic Rotary journey and your contribution to the community and working professionally also all in the region. I'm sure you have enriched all of us and Rotarians to know more about you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move to our speaker slot, and you already introduced our guest speaker. Today is Mr. Tan Tin Wee. He's the Chief Executive, National Supercomputing Center called NSCC, and his topic is, time is now for a biodefense force in every country and every city, defending humanity from existential and bioterrorist threats. To introduce our speaker, may I call upon Rotarian Bruno Masotto. Rotarian Bruno, please.
Thank you very much, President Dinesh. Good evening, fellow Rotarians, dear guests, visiting Rotarians. It's my pleasure and my honor to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Mr. Tan Tin Wee. He is the founding director and current chief executive of the National Supercomputing Center, NSCC, in Singapore. He's also an associate professor of the Biochemistry department at NUS. And Professor Tan is very well known in the bioinformatics field, and he holds various portfolios in the areas of biotechnology, infrastructure, and research and development. He is currently a Senate member of the Management Development Institute of Singapore, MDIS, and he serves as a board of director of Keppel Center, REIT management as well. With many qualifications, we would have to spend a lot of time sharing all his achievements, but he will address us tonight, as President Dinesh already said, on a very timely topic entitled, Time is Now for a Biodefense Force in Every Country and Every City, Defending Humanity from Existential and Bioterrorist Threats. So without further ado, Professor Tan, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Very much, Bruno, for the
Thank you,
generous
Bruno.
introduction.
Yeah.
President Dinesh Sharma, past presidents, Mohan, past president, Dr. Yap, Rotarians, thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you on this very topical subject. The world is gripped by the pandemic, and people are literally dying on the streets in many countries. We in Singapore are blessed, but the threat still remains very close to us, as we have now reverted back to some degree of lockdown. Our hearts go out to all those who are suffering, but it redoubles our effort to focus on how we got to where we are and what steps we need to take in order to defend ourselves from such a grave threat to humanity. My original field is actually developing vaccines, by the way. And I've been with the biochemistry department for 31 years. But along the way, as PP Mohan was mentioning and alluding to the fact that I was involved with the internet and with Tamil internet in particular, as well as bioinformatics and various other things. And now lately, high performance computing, supercomputing to be more precise. But I always have a heart for this particular field. And now it has come to the fore that it is probably time, high time, that we should build a biodefense force in every country, in every city, in order to defend human from these existential threats of today. COVID-19, emerging, re-emerging diseases, antimicrobial resistance and superbugs, zoonotic leaps from animal disease to human, climate change driving changes in disease patterns, expansion of our cities, encroaching into forests, jungles, where disease thrives in animal reservoirs, unleashing all kinds of diseases, including the dreaded disease X. But more dreadful would be the specter of bioterrorism. Man-made, diabolical, despicable efforts to disrupt the world using bioterrorist activities, including spreading diseases in major urban centers. These are important existential threats to the world today. And we cannot deny that the pandemic today has caused us untold misery. In the case of Singapore, there is an urgent need for mitigation of these threats. We in Singapore are a global city. We are an air travel hub, a seaport. We have a high dependence on global supply chains. We are one of the densest cities in the world. The moment we get an infection, it spreads like wildfire. And not only that, we have high visibility and poses as a high value target for any bioterrorist act. This pandemic that we are in the grip of today is nothing new. There has been many deadly pandemics in history, whether it's smallpox or Spanish flu or even measles. But more recently, in the last 15 years, we have had ample warning from SARS 2003, swine flu, Zika, Hendra, Ebola, MERS, you name it. We have had a lot of warning. So this pandemic that we are in right now, COVID-19, is probably to be expected. The tremendous level of air travel means that within 24 hours, some disease in some obscure village, somewhere in some thick tropical jungle can easily spread to urban centers and spread like wildfire. In Singapore, we have something called the concept of total defense. It's a whole of society national defense system whereby every aspect of society contributes to the collective defense of the state. Introduced in 1984, adopted from the Swedish and Switzerland, thank you very much. We have right now 6 key tenets: military defense, civil defense, economic defense, social defense, psychological defense, and more recently, digital defense. There's a part almost for everyone together to keep Singapore strong and keep Singapore safe. But we're missing one critical part today. Where is our 7th pillar? Biodefense. So there is an urgent call from the community that we should organize ourselves in such a way that we can put up a credible and robust, if possible, a preemptive defense against COVID-19 and any other disease that might emerge in the near future. Yes, we are doing it. Singapore beefing up defenses in preparation for disease X. It's all in the papers. But is it enough? We have seen how in this very popular viral video clip of how Pfizer makes its COVID vaccines. Sorry. It's literally industrial scale. From robotic systems to pipelines, it's a manufacturing pipeline. We don't have that in Singapore. Isn't it high time that we should have this capability and start developing it properly? My work in 1997 has shown that workflow integration is also pretty important. Process modeling, and automated execution for biomanufacturing, 1997. We analyze the whole workflow from an unknown infectious agent, how we sequence the DNA, get the complete genome, to designing PCR primers, right through to manufacturing large-scale DNA chips or immediate deployable diagnostic chips. These pipelines have to be integrated. So I've been there. And we've seen how way back in 1997, we have already anticipated the need for this kind of integrated industrial scale pipelines in order to deliver diagnostic tools to arm our frontliners in this defense against deadly diseases, for rapid segregation of those infected versus those who are safe, and not to commingle them and cause more spread of disease. More recently, we have become more innovative and more inventive, and hopefully more organized in a timely fashion. When the outbreak came, we were able to put together various projects, including developing neutralizing antibody assays, the Fortitude kit for RT-PCR diagnostic kits. But way back in 2003, we have been combating SARS, for example, with thermal infrared fever sensing systems. So we in Singapore do have the technology and the capability, but have we organized ourselves in such a way that we can defend ourselves? In the last 1 year, we have seen, I would say we did credibly well, but is it good enough? If we compare to those countries that are hopelessly disorganized. Of course, with that low bar, you will turn out looking good. And recently, Singapore was nominated as #1 place that you want to be in this pandemic. But we were told at the very beginning, there's no need to wear masks, right? So, this thing keeps jumping, I'm sorry. So, I posit that we need, it's today, to build a biodefense force. Just as in 1965, upon independence, we realized how vulnerable Singapore was, and we got together to form the Singapore Armed Forces. Today, we have this urgent need for a biodefense force that's integrated to perform the command, control, the communications, and the coordination, to put together all the divisions that need to be in place, whether it is for biosurveillance, preemptive detection of new emerging diseases, as and when they pop up within our borders, we can immediately react. The logistics supply chain that needs to be in place to provide the chemicals and the reagents for developing our diagnostics, developing our therapeutic agents, screening and scanning our libraries upon libraries of pharmaceutical agents that can be repurposed for defending against diseases of all kinds. And we need to put in place a biomanufacturing pipeline system that can lead to inadequate resource drugs at the point of need. Hospital construction in China, for example, they did it in 14 days. We need to do as well as that. Social ambassadors keep hounding us to keep our distance. We need to organize this detection of temperature sensing and so on. Biological devices need to be deployed at all ports of call. We need to map the sequences to see which is the new mutation that is likely to pop up and whether it is able to be detected in the first place with our biodiagnostics and with our vaccination systems. If we have the misfortune of being the target of bioterrorist activities, then we need to kick in the IT and cybersecurity framework and the intelligence system in order to identify which bioterrorist agency is coming to our shores. If I were a bioterrorist warlord somewhere in some terrible war-torn country, I have nothing to lose. Now, as a terrorist, head honcho, I have to coordinate nitrates and other bombs and other wires and all that. Oh, so complicated. I have to clear borders and so on. Today, we know how to bring the whole developed world to its knees simply by sending a message to our suicide bombers, now bioterrorists. Go fly to Bangalore or fly to some place in Delhi, go to the nearest hospital and talk to everybody and touch everything. Carry that disease and go to the nearest international hub in New York, London, Singapore, Tokyo, you name it, and spread the disease there. Just with a click of the button, you can send your troops to anywhere in the world and cause untold misery. We need to have a stronger bioterrorist intelligence because word is out. It doesn't take very much to become a bioterrorist. It hasn't happened, thank God. But word is out now. We must be prepared for command, control, communication, and coordination of a biodefense force. We can't do it alone. We need the whole community, the whole global community to work in coordination and in liaison with each other, synergistically. And we need to have proper public education. And you have seen the incredible spread of all kinds of virus as in viral tweets, viral fake news, video clips, and so on that's spreading our social media. This has got to be coordinated and controlled and communicate, real information communicated to the public. Otherwise, fake news will be far more disastrous than the virus itself, or just as bad. So in conclusion, I would like to say that it is high time that Singapore leads by example to set up a biodefense force that not only coordinates amongst the healthcare organizations that I've listed here, integrate the response and organize it in such a way that we can defend against COVID-19 and any pandemic that might come our way, whether it is by natural forces of nature or by human design. Now is the time for us to act in defense of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tan, for your wonderful speech, and you have given very comprehensive and holistic approach to the biodefense. I think we all listened for the first time, such an idea. I'm sure the government knows about it. And I think now I will open it for questions and answer and bring Bridget. Could you please coordinate the Q&A?
Of course, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely wonderful, Prof Tan. I mean, it's very thought-provoking, actually. And I don't have any questions in the chat. Is anyone in the audience with a pressing question now to ask Professor Tan? I think everybody is speechless.
We ran out of we nearly ran out of masks, right?
Mukundan is coming up. Mukund, do you want to ask your question?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Very exciting, this speech. I have heard that BioNTech wants to build their factory in Asia and Singapore. Isn't it a first step from the government now to attract leading pharmaceutical companies in this space to come and to produce in Singapore? I think this would be a good step forward for us here.
Yes, absolutely. I fully agree, because we can't do it ourselves, and we can't build things that and duplicate other efforts overseas, and we need to plug and play. So if a foreign company is able to bring their technology and build it up immediately in Singapore, lock, stock, and barrel, cut over and replicate a facility that is known to be functional in their homeland and build it in Singapore, I think we should welcome it with open arms. But we need to have a proper message, an organized message that as part of our total defense, we have in a new pillar called the biological defense pillar, together with psychological, social, military, and so forth. And you think about it, Singapore has the wherewithal to get this done, and we have the will to get it done. But we need the leadership with the vision to be able to aggregate all these resources, organize them. Thank you.
Mukundan, do you still have your question?
1 minute. Professor Tanvi, right? I have this question. Do you think the current situation has a role to play in the bio war?
Can I please ask everyone to be muted?
Right. So could I paraphrase that question and rephrase it in this manner, right? This current situation exemplifies to every terrorist out there, every military warmonger out there, that you can bring any country, any city to its knees by simply spreading an infectious agent of whatever kind. So word is out now, and they can see for their own eyes, you can bring any country to its knees. You can totally lock down an entire country and totally disrupt every single aspect of society. Now, if I am war-torn, I have nothing living in a war-torn countries, maybe somewhere in Afghanistan, my children are all dead, I have nothing to lose. I'm filled with hate and revenge. And I have a dozen of them queuing up outside my neighbors and so on, round them up, send them to these places just with a simple e-ticket to the nearest airport, right? Now it does not need to be COVID-19. It could be any of those diseases that I've listed. Now, about 20 years ago, we had when the internet broke out, we had this critical infrastructure protection framework, right? The PCCIP during Clinton's time, right? We also ran through scenarios whereby there will be bioterrorist attacks, okay? Now it's become a reality. Any bioterrorist agency will have the means to execute it. It's almost a democratization of that process, you know? So the more wars, physical wars that we have, the more people who have nothing to lose, generation after generation of these, and they will utilize biological agents because it's convenient, it's simple. So that threat is now real, but it has not yet happened. We have a window, the prodromal period, to do something about it and organize ourselves. Otherwise, this pandemic will not be the last. Man-made pandemics will be up next. So we are faced with two possibilities: natural zoonotic leaps of diseases from animal populations into our human population in highly dense urban areas, firstly, and secondly, man-made bioterrorist acts of war.
Wow. I think I
Thank you,
have
Professor Tanvi.
a few more questions in the chat. I probably read Omkar's question here because it's quite a long one. Is it possible that this existential threat to humanity emerge in major countries' conflict, not just at terrorist level? How far is such a possibility? And what ought to be done at global level to stop such possibility? Should there not be global rules and regulations? I think that's pretty much one thing I was thinking about, because Singapore is so small, and even if we have everything in place, we can't shut ourselves sort of up to the outer world forever, right? So I think that is.
So major countries in conflict, yeah, sure, at terrorist level. But the point I was trying to make here is that today we now have a possibility of democratization of bioterrorists. Anyone can become a bioterrorist. You don't even need to hunt down a gun or an automatic weapon loaded with bullets. You just go to the nearest place where there's people go the other way, you go to the disease and you catch it and then you spread it. And the problem here is that it's very difficult to target. It spreads like wildfire, right? So this possibility now looms large, but it hasn't happened yet because people are busy dealing with this current pandemic. But we have we have the chance to prepare ourselves for that terrible specter.
There's one question actually adding to what you just said from Ravi Machiraju. If we are to assume that viruses like COVID will keep recurring every few years, would it be possible to future-proof vaccines so that a wide range of viruses can be thwarted by a single vaccine? So that's more like prevention, or having a weapon.
So we know from the flu, right, the ordinary influenza, that every year you have to come up with a new strain. Right? Every year you have to get jabbed, right? And we knew it. And then we every country happily pretended that, oh, this vaccine comes out will be the panacea for everything. But as we now know, even vaccinated people can still be infected by new variant strains, right? Look at the cases that we have recently in the hospitals. Fully vaccinated people are still succumbing. Firstly, there is a certain percentage of non-responders. Have we been tracking them? Answer is no. How many of you have been vaccinated? You put up your hands. I can tell a lot. Did they take your blood? Let me ask you. Did they schedule for you to take a blood sample before, after vaccine to see the before and after effect? Even medical doctors, my colleagues, I was shocked. None of them, even their own, the healthcare community themselves did not take samples of their own blood to check whether they were responders to the vaccine, that they had developed neutralizing antibodies. We are just blissfully ignorant of our current status. And the governments worldwide have no plan to measure these levels of how well your immune system has reacted. Now, this is it's highly egregious if you are the medical director of a hospital and you send your nurses and doctors to the front line to treat patients just because they've been vaccinated, but you didn't bother to check whether they've responded or not. Isn't it? Don't you think so?
Interesting point.
So I was truly shocked that we have no plans or whatsoever. We are not even keeping the serum samples, you know. If you say that we have insufficient resources, we don't have money, the budget is not forthcoming, but at least you could draw blood and keep it in the fridge. It doesn't take very much, and Dr. Yap will tell you, to keep a serum sample is pretty stable. You can keep it in the ordinary 4 degrees fridge, no problems. You can store for long periods of time, more than a year. And if you need to keep it longer, you put it in minus 20 degrees, right? In the freezer, it stores. So then you can have a chance later on when you have the budget to retest these patients and have an idea of how many people have responded with neutralizing antibodies, right? And those people need a third jab, a fourth jab, because they have been slow in responding. So this was one small example, right? We ran out of masks, right? As you recall, this time last year, because our manufacturing processes were not there. In Singapore, we stockpile grain, we stockpile bullets, okay? And all kinds of weapons. You drive along our rural areas, you see all kinds of military camps, storing all kinds of tanks and military equipment. And yet we did not stockpile mask manufacturing items. We did not stockpile oxygen concentrators, did we? Did we prepare manufacturing pipelines that could easily be shifted to manufacture masks? Obviously, we were caught with our pants down. So what I'm saying here is that all these things that I mentioned have to be integrated, coordinated, and organized. Now is the time to act.
there anyone from our medical faculty members to have a comment?
Can I raise one supplementary question, please? This is
This is okay. I spotlight you so that we all see you. Here we go. Here we are. Omkar.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Tan, thank you so much for such a excellent presentation. Shouldn't there be global rules, regulation, procedures to stop such thing? Shouldn't there be, is there any UN level discussions given the seriousness of this issue?
You see how WHO reacted. They have their rules, right? But are they organized and integrated with home defense, with the social ambassadors, with the social media? Were they coordinated with the military and the police, with the civil defense and the hospitals? So we need now to get our act together at the highest level of government to realize that just as in the past, human civilization has figured it out. Next village, these guys are trying to raid our village. Okay, let's form our defense force, right? Arm everybody, prepare them. Just as Singapore realized when we were thrust out of Malaysia, we had to fend for ourselves. Our sovereignty was an existential threat. So we built we armed ourselves to the teeth, right? Singapore's budget for defense tops all other surrounding countries added together, okay? But what is our budget for medical? Very low, 4+% of annual budget, goes to medical. But what about biodefense? It's a separate kettle of fish here. Doctors look after and save patients, but not the organized public health defense system that coordinates immigration together all the way down to the manufacturing of building of hospitals and discovery of drugs. So the scientists have to be pulled into place and coordinated and organized.
Thank you.
I think there's one other question from Vinit, a little bit of a different topic, comparing the viruses with nuclear threats. Vinit, do you want to ask the question?
Slightly different perspective, right? And I'm just trying to take a parallel that what we've seen currently with the virus is, to weaponize this, I'm taking a parallel to the nuclear threat that was there earlier. Everyone developed nuclear weapons. Nobody wanted to use it because it's too terrible to use, and everyone realized that there's no winner on nuclear war. It's exactly the same with the virus, isn't it? Once you unleash it, there's nothing which prevents it from coming back to hit you. So wouldn't there be a kind of status quo which would it really get weaponized and utilized, or will it just become a threat like nuclear weapons are?
Yeah, well, organized well, meaning military commanders will know, right? It can bite me back, right? So if I do indiscriminate, mutually assured destruction, MAD, right? So they don't press the button. But here we're talking about democratization of a really serious weapon. Any deranged person doesn't need to go to the store or buy a rifle or stockpile bullets or whatever. Or worst of all, it's impossible to get anything nuclear, right? But anyone they can go get himself infected and spread it around, right? And of course, these will be suicide bombers, bioterrorists. So you see the steps here in the early days of suicide bombers, the kamikaze of the Japanese, and then the Tamil Tigers, right? And then now, right, the Chechens, and now you have Osama and so on. So that's out in the wild now. Combine that suicide bomber mentality together with ease of access to these viruses. You don't even need to weaponize. You just send your troops to the nearest hospital and get infected, and then send them somewhere else to a travel hub, right? Now, more organized guys might be saying, oh, let's keep some of these viruses, and keep it in our fridge, right? And then next time we will threaten to unleash it, right?
Maybe adding to that, have you, Professor Tan, have you already shared your thoughts with the international community, maybe with some of your sort of colleagues in the US, or just because I think, as you say, it needs a concerted sort of action.
Yeah, we cannot just do it ourselves, all right? That's why I said that it has to be for every country and every city, because we are so interconnected today. Our supply chain itself, all right, means that we've got to share our vaccines. You may be good at diagnostics. You give me some, I give you some vaccines in return. I give you some masks. I have manufacturing plants. You know, there has to be that international level of coordination. That's what I'm saying, right? And I've been talking about it on social media for some months now, but the Rotary Club is the first time I'm giving such a formal explanation of some of my thoughts that has been brewing over the years.
Professor Tan, may I ask you a question that it's not a new thing, I read it in Tom Clancy's books and all that, but there are many countries involved with this situation, and there are many big countries, I wouldn't say who, so we shouldn't be doing it by ourselves on a very small scale, because there are big countries who are thinking about the same thing. So is there something that we can base on, like, best practice, or, a model that Singapore can follow? We followed Sweden, for example.
Yeah. Look at the world today, right? Even Bhutan now has the entire country vaccinated. So actually Singapore is a little bit behind, right, in terms of getting our act together. But many other bigger countries have problems of scale, right? So we need to get ourselves organized to show how urban centers, like cities, right, can coordinate themselves, right? So the message has to go out. There has to be a concerted global effort to spread this news that we've got to get our act together, and we have to coordinate, and we have to share information, and we got to keep doing it. About 15 years, when we had SARS, right? 2003, we said to ourselves, we better do metagenomics. We constantly monitor the aircon ventilation system, swap the surfaces and so on, and sequence everything to achieve a baseline. And when you see a blip somewhere, you say, oh, wow, let's look, something's going on. So I'm happy to report that NUS actually does sewage sequencing, or sewage, right? And PCR or sewage, to detect for whether somebody somewhere in the student hostel is starting to excrete viruses in the sewage, and then trigger the alarm, right? And then send the specific block, the specific tower, folks living there in that part of the sewage system, and send them for screening in a targeted manner. So biosurveillance has got to start, has got to continue, and we have to be regularly doing these screenings to detect for when the next virus is going to jump from a bat or a bird to the human population. So we've got to organize ourselves in that manner by triggering this. I'm no Thunberg, right? But somebody has to do this, okay? Get everybody aware of how to get the best minds in the world to start thinking in this way.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. There's one raised hand from Tom.
Make it last. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, a fantastic presentation, but can it lead to the fact that people who are travel into a city have to undergoing a virus test, that we are keeping this testing even for people coming into our country? Maybe there will be more restrictions and more knowledge about people entering into a city, entering into a country, and maybe what you are saying will lead to the situation that we have to have a better border control who is coming, and if they are carrying such a dangerous weapon with them.
Yeah, I have no answer to that. That's the end of the travel business, right?
Yeah.
No,
if you want to take the risk, go ahead and travel to any city. But some of you may remember in the past, we used to have to, when we go to South America, we have to get our vaccination certificate, right, for yellow fever. Remember that?
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is the test the testing systems, let's say, are developed in a way. At the moment, we have huge testing in my company in Germany. Everybody has to be tested once a week. We as a company doing this. So maybe on the border, there have to be tests then to see who is coming into our city.
Yep, and not just testing during a pandemic, but also general screening to measure the baseline, right? When a new strain pops up, you will pick it up as a new blip, right? So this testing now means that the whole world is going to be totally changed, right? Because of this procedure that any human being can be a carrier of whatever kind of disease, right? So there has to be multiple layers built in. So if you miss, your detection rate can never be 100%, right? So if you are 80%, every 10%, 2 of them could be suspect. And then the contact tracing and so forth, right? And so that's why it's defense, layer upon layer of defense that needs to be built in order to build the level of resilience any urban center in the world going forward.
Thank you, Tinvi. Could I request that you could continue, you could stay for a few more minutes after we close the meeting and during our fellowship time. There is a lot of interest in asking questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I will call upon Rotarian Sean Wee, Rotarian Sean Wee to give word of thanks.
Thank you. Firstly, Professor Tan, I always personally get very switched on coming out from such fantastic talks. And I'm very sure everyone on the call tonight feels exactly the same. What you have really brought to us is, war on a completely different dimension from, the originating from land, then to sea, and then to air, and then to space. And for me, into cyberspace, and now going even further into bio. What a world. So thank you very much, Professor Tan, for your truly phenomenal and your insightful presentation on biodefense and the need to be always prepared and to think ahead. I'm really confident that the Rotary community on the call today is positively infected with your deep knowledge and insight into the sphere of biodefense, which, as we all know, is connected to biowarfare, bioterrorism, man-made or otherwise. Your escalation on the need for a 7th pillar to our total defense strategy is timely more than ever. After all, like you have correctly put, weaponizing the human today is simply the biggest threat vector available. And for all of us guys in cybersecurity, we know that when there's a threat, someone's going to exploit it sooner or later, as you correctly put, right? So COVID has indeed taught us some hard lessons and has upended our lives as it is. Never before, have I been able to walk into a bank with a mask on and ask for money, but that's the norm today. So through your sharing, we take pride and confidence, right, that the Singapore's preparation to meet such challenges for COVID in Singapore, right? We have Professor Tan, we have a community of scientists, healthcare experts, doctors, all working to remediate the disease. And I know, obviously, one of the biggest challenge is to work with the politicians, because when politicians try to act like doctors, things don't really work out well, as we've seen in many, many major countries. I mean, I deal with the cyber threat, cyber war situation, in markets like the US, and typically, questions tonight where, members are asking like, shouldn't the world come out with a standard policy process? My posit is that for a market like US, every time something like this happens, you can see that they are not coordinated because you have multiple agencies like FEMA and all the three-lettered agencies, and getting them coordinated is in itself a challenge, much less getting the world together. So once again, Professor Tan, thank you so much for your sharing with all of us here at Rotary, and may you have a good evening ahead. I hope to see you back again soon with some good news this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean Lim. And thank you all the fellow Rotarians who have asked all the questions, making it so interesting and interactive. Can you please unmute yourself and give a round of applause to Professor Tan?
Thank you so much.
President.
Thank you.
President.
Yeah.
I just want to say a word, and Professor Tan has sent me a personal message, and I would like him to announce it himself.
Please. Please unmute yourself, Professor.
Thank you very much, Suresh, for reminding me. When Suresh, he's a very persuasive man, right? When you are asking me to give this talk, so naturally I Googled the Rotary Club website, and I was really amazed by the tremendous work that you guys are doing. So I asked him how may I help? And then he made some suggestions. So I hope today I may start off with a little small, tiny donation. I could not match the earlier gentleman who donated $10,000. Maybe I could go back to work and then maybe earn a few more bucks to add to your contribution as a regular contributor. And I hope to be able to make a little small donation to your incredible efforts at projects which past President Dr. Yap has given me a whirlwind tour of all the activities that he has been involved with. I like to help this effort too and contribute a couple of $1,000s to this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tinvi. One more time, Professor. Thank you so much. And next week, I have already informed, and once again, next week our speaker is Miss Aimee Jamal Edin, and she's the country head for customer success, Microsoft Singapore. She will speak on women in tech and female leader. Okay, now I think we'll have to bring this interesting meeting to a close, and please stay on for fellowship for a couple of minutes. Thank you very much, and meeting is closed.